Everybody, welcome, welcome. Go ahead and get settled in. We are going to hear from these amazing women today, and we're going to see Black girl magic. So I'm excited about today. Yeah. I got a question for you, Davison, before we get started. You're doing something. I'll let you do it.
I was trying to figure out the watch party thing. Sometimes my age creeps in, but we'll get it.
You'll get it. No, I got it. I got a question, so now that I can get started. So I read a Forbes article, and they were saying that Black women in the Black race are the only gender that have more businesses than men. So African Americans in general, Black women own more businesses than Black men. What do you think that? Why do you think that is?
Why I think that is, I think a lot of the time we just are so used to doing many things, and we're able to do it, willing to do whatever it takes to have our families have what they need. I'm trying to shift that a little bit. I had an opportunity to start my business. My husband always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but in his career path, it's not as easy to start a business. So of course, by me being an optometrist, it was a no-brainer. He's basically a partner in my business. He helps with the back end, front end, IT, everything but being an eye doctor. So I think long as we have the potential to collaborate and help our brothers be able to be exposed to be entrepreneurs as well. And then some of it could just be that unfortunately we're just getting more opportunities than our male counterparts. Not that they don't want to be entrepreneurs, but if it's not easy for them to get the funding and the things that they need to be able to access the capital, it's making it a little bit harder.
Come on. Definitely. We'll get started really soon. I just had to have a one-off question before my internet went down. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to the Eye to Eye Coffee Talk series. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Terrence Lackren, aka the Optical Poet, Director of Partnerships and Programming at the Vision Council. And on behalf of the Vision Council and Vision Expo show, I would like to welcome you all to the Eye to Eye Coffee Talk series. Hopefully you brought your hot or cold beverage of choice. I know Tiffany brought hers. So she has a lot to celebrate today, which we'll get to later. But before I start, let's go through a few housekeeping rules. Now, as you can see, we chose to use this platform Zoom. And the reason why we chose to use Zoom is because what you see right now. You can see everybody, you can see and talk with your peers. It really allows a more of a community effect to this entire programming. But the only way this is going to work is if we all, unless you are a panelist, we all need to keep our mics always on mute. So please keep your mic muted at all times. If you would like to ask a question, please use the chat box feature and type your question in. Or if you'd like to ask a live question, feel free to go to the bottom of your screen, to the participants tab, and go ahead and click raise your hand, and we'll see you, we will unmute you, and you can come on and ask a live question as well. Now, for some reason, in case we get disconnected for any reason at all, just go ahead and log off and log back in again in 5 minutes, and we'll get started. Again, if for some reason we're still not on in 5 minutes, we'll send you an email about another date and time when we can go ahead and reschedule this event too. Well, I'm going to stop talking, and I promise I will not talk any more during this session, because this session is not about me, but it's about these amazing Black women in eye care that are entrepreneurs. And one of them, at least, I'm friends with all of them, but Dr. Richardson is a dear friend of mine, someone who I've always admired for years. And I'm so honored that she has agreed to moderate this session. Dr. Richardson, how's it going?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Terrence. It's going really well. I'll introduce myself for those of you.
You have an amazing group today to get through.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I am Dr. Danielle Richardson. I'm a practicing optometrist in Los Angeles, California, and I'm so excited to moderate this panel today. That is about Black women in entrepreneurship. So if you weren't aware, Black women are one of the fastest growing groups of entrepreneurs in the country. In his book, Black Women Startups, Dale Gaines quoted LinkedIn CEO Reid Hoffman when he said, "An entrepreneur is someone who will jump off of a cliff and assemble an airplane on the way down. But for Black women," Gaines added, They do this with only a toothpick and a napkin. So despite the challenges that are facing Black women entrepreneurs, that doesn't necessarily deter them. So in 2019, it was reported by Forbes that Black women-owned businesses grew a stunning 164%, making Black women entrepreneurship the fastest growing demographic in the United States. So because of that, we really wanted to highlight some of the entrepreneurs in our industry and understand their entrepreneurial journey and kind of what got them from point A to point B and what sustains them and is going to help them keep moving forward. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and allow our panelists to introduce themselves. So first, I'm going to start with Autianna Wilson.
Hello, everyone. Yes, Autianna Wilson. Some of you guys may know me as the optical goddess, the one and only. I have been in the optical industry for, I would say, 11 years now. I started when I was really young in high school, and really just over the years grew a deep passion for optics, for independent eyewear, and I would say also just taking up space within this industry, because when I was younger, like starting in high school, there was not a lot of Black women or Black people in general in optics, and there still isn't. We're definitely coming out of the woodworks, but I think it's been like a point for me to, you know, make space and take up space in this industry for myself, just to feel more comfortable. So.
Thanks. And Autianna, where are you based currently? And can you tell us about what your current venture is that you've launched?
I am based in San Francisco. Recently in April, I started a business, Eyewear Love Affair, which is a mobile and virtual eyewear boutique that really specializes in virtual eyewear fittings. And yeah, it's been really amazing. I started in April during COVID. I got laid off from my optician job in March, and it's been like a really beautiful experience for me.
Awesome. We can't wait to hear more about it.
Yay.
Tiffany, we understand you have some big news. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about what's going on in your world today?
Yes. So today we are launching our collection, FUBU Frames. It actually went live today. We actually own the license for it. And I'll just circle back to give a little history. So I've been in the industry. So it's Tiffany Mcintosh, and I've been in the industry for 22 years. Started out in high school, opticianry program, and I pretty much worked in every facet of the optical industry. So I was an optometric technician, then I went on to become a retail manager, a lab manager, a general manager, then went on to work as a buyer, and then I became a sales rep, an independent sales rep. Did that for about 10 years in the industry, and then about 6 years ago, we launched our company, Eyecandy Creations, which a lot of you know or may be familiar with some of our brands. We created the brand for Cynthia Bailey from the Real Housewives of Atlanta that has been sold nationwide in department stores. We created a collection for gospel singer Tasha Cobbs Leonard, Eva Marcel, and we now own the license for FUBU, which, as I just stated, launched today.
Congratulations on the launch. We have some important questions for you about licensing and how that all works. So excited to dive in. And Dr. Janelle Davison, can you go ahead and introduce yourself and let us know where you are and about your business?
So yes, I'm Dr. Janelle Davison, AKA Dr. Janelle OD. I am a solo practicing optometrist. I've been practicing 14 years now. I own my own private office, and this year we hit a decade. So in 2020, we have been open for 10 years. I am the founder and CEO of Brain Eyes Vision Center and Premier Eye Spa. So in 2018, I launched an eye spa within my clinic that focuses on advanced dry eye therapies, management, and treatment. But we also have a unique aspect that we've partnered with an esthetician, so that when you want to do your ocular enhancements, such as lashes, facials, you can have it in a guided experience. So that way you're maintaining your overall health, but enhancing your beauty as well. I've just relocated my practice. So I've opened one, maintained it for 10 years in the middle of a recession, closed that down and moved. I basically rebranded myself and we opened up this past Saturday. And so I've actually scaled down. So we'll talk about the importance of starting to prepare for retirement early. I've always wanted to be retired early. I'm not going to be working till I'm 65, 70 years old, holding behind a slit lamp. My goal is 55. So I've downsized, but I rebranded my practice as a boutique. And I'm focusing on my eye spa. So we have the same amount of exam lanes. We have our spa, our esthetician. So we moved to an area about 8 minutes up the road that is very progressive, mixed use, a very different vibe, and we're so excited to be here. Some things I do outside of eye care. I am the co-founder and CEO of a nonprofit called Score Inc. I founded Score Inc. in 2018. No, I'm sorry, 2017 is my sister, Dr. Joya DDS. We expose girls to STEM-related careers. We empower them and expose them, specifically girls of color. We are going on our fourth year of establishment. We've given out over $12,000 in stipends and scholarships. We've had 16 students matriculate through our internship program. So I'm all about community. I love to mentor, specifically girls of color, and I'm all about business and entrepreneurship. And on top of that, I'm a mom. I got 2 kids. I got a boy starting middle school, and I have an 8-year-old, and I'm a wife. So I do a lot. And I don't have gray hair yet, so that helps.
That's awesome. Well, you do a lot, and that is one of the things that I think is so fascinating about entrepreneurship in general is sort of the entrepreneurial spirit and this ability to multitask and to do a lot. So if you guys could tell me when, and anybody can feel free to answer here, when did you know you had an entrepreneurial spirit, or when was that sort of first experience where it went off for you that I actually think I can build a business, or when did you see that entrepreneurial spirit shine through in your life?
Should I?
Autianna,
Yeah, you go ahead. You can go ahead. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, I would say, I think I felt it, I felt the entrepreneurial spirit more like probably 3 years ago when I started to feel like my energy was a little too big, and my passion was a little too strong to be, I would say, held back and limited in spaces that I only had so much control in, because let's face it, I do enjoy having control when I'm working in spaces. So in my mind, I think I've always known that I wanted to start a business, and I have learned that the entrepreneurial spirit really, like, it's in you, not on you. So I feel like it was never a question of do I have it, but it was really like, do I feel confident enough to use the tools instilled within me to make something happen? So the last 3 years, I've kind of just, quietly, I would say, like, took time to learn as much business sense and just gain as much knowledge as I could so that I could be ready for right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Anyone else? Thanks for sharing, Auntie. Anyone else?
I would say that I figured it out probably when I became a sales rep. Being in the field, I wasn't, secluded into an office setting. I had the potential to make as much money as my efforts and hard work would allow. And I believe that actually gave me that freedom that I really enjoyed. To be an entrepreneur. Now, don't get me wrong, the entrepreneurship definitely has a lot of ups and downs and pros and cons, but I definitely wouldn't trade it for anything else in the world. I know that you work harder when you're an entrepreneur, and definitely when you're working for yourself, because there simply is no 9 to 5 when you're when you're an entrepreneur.
And so I'm going to chime in just a little bit. My experience is a little bit different. I consider myself almost kind of an accidental entrepreneur. I think when you're an optometrist, I think everybody has a goal. Eventually, you think you'll own your own practice, and you're like, I'll work for a couple of years before I get some patients under my belt, learn how to be a business person or a businesswoman. But I was actually in a corporate setting when I first got out. I didn't like it. But I was laid off. People were like, "You're a doctor, you get laid off." I was laid off back in the middle. I think it was 2006, 2007, with the first big recession. I was laid off, and I wasn't happy. And so at that time, it kind of gave me the energy and the passion, the motivation to see if I can move forward with the private practice setting or starting my own practice a little bit earlier. Before I did that, I started out as a relief doctor. So I kind of made a name for myself in the Atlanta area. I was filling in everywhere of Atlanta. If I can drive there in 30 to 40 minutes, I was covering offices. And I did that for about 2 years under my current LLC. So my Brilliant Eyes has been around on a brick and mortar for 10 years, but the LLC is about 14, 15 years old. And so from there, I just kind of kept progressing. And like Tiffany said, it's not a walk in the park at all, just like marriage. It's not roses and everything is bright and sunny, but you just know that this is what you have to do. There is no 9 to 5. If you're not working, you're not making money unless you're able to position yourself where you can have others working for you. But I don't think I would trade it for anything. I think everything is happening for a reason, and I'm happy where I am. But sometimes you could become an accidental entrepreneur a little bit earlier than you anticipate.
Yeah, the entrepreneurial journey is certainly full of twists and turns and unexpected bumps in the road, kind of like you all mentioned. Speaking of which, one of our panelists, Yolanda James, the owner of Insight Opticians in DC, they specialize in luxury eyewear. Well, she had to work today. She is on a pull for one of her clients, which is Oprah. So those are the type of things that we're juggling as entrepreneurs. Now, one of the things that you guys have kind of all mentioned is there being bumps in the road, or the entrepreneurial journey not being all roses and rainbows and butterflies and unicorns. Could you kind of explain to me, or could you share maybe an experience from your journey that has inspired resiliency in you? Really, I'm looking for you to share something that was like motivating or encouraging you, that helped you to kind of get back up and keep moving forward. So I know there are some other entrepreneurs tuned in, and maybe they're feeling like they're at one of those bumps in the road right now, or maybe they're feeling a little bit challenged right now in their own journey. So if you guys could share maybe an experience or a quote or something that has kind of like helped you to build resiliency to make it through and to overcome those more challenging times in the entrepreneurial journey.
I think in entrepreneurship, and I'll kind of jump right in, it's kind of like becoming a parent. If you're a parent, it's nothing you can prepare for. It's innate, and those survival skills will kick in. There will be times where, especially if you own a brick and mortar, everything is your problem, from the lights going out to termites to floods to a patient passing out. I mean, everything is your problem, but you just learn to dig deep within and to keep pressing forward. Every day is something different. I used to wake up on Mondays and say, okay, what's going to happen this week? I thought I couldn't top last Monday, but I'm sure something this Monday is going to happen. Right where we're in right now, in the midst of this pandemic, I think for most entrepreneurs, this is probably about the craziest it's been. I've been doing this for 10 years now. And at one point, a lot of us had to shut our businesses down, and some of us didn't know if we would be able to open back up. I think it's important to hone your craft. Owning your business is a craft, so you have to make sure that you know your numbers, you're keeping everything nice and tight, because when something happens, if your things are nice and tight, your credit is good, you can survive. If you're hanging on by a thin thread with like anything in your life, it's going to be a little bit harder to bounce back. So I think if you can bounce back in this current climate, this pandemic, I think going forward, I know for me as an entrepreneur, long as I'm still walking the earth, I don't think there's anything that can actually slow me down at this point, just because this is something that I don't think any of us could have imagined that can really change the pathway of our practices and our businesses.
Absolutely.
I would say that my story is one that is for sure about resilience, reclaiming my life, and how God use rejection and hardship and so many unexpected circumstances to awaken something that was so much greater within me. I learned this and realized this, I would say, at the age of 17 when I became a teenage mother. So like Dr. Janelle was saying, like it's like having your own child. I was a teenage mother, and I was told that not only I wouldn't graduate, they thought I wouldn't graduate from high school, but that I was just another statistic, set out for failure. And I basically use those words to propel me. I'm that type of girl that if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to show you that I absolutely can do it. And do it probably better than you.
Yes, love that.
I mean, I really learned that you have to be able to turn pain into purpose and your mess into a larger message, basically. It's, you know, I had to figure out that and understand that difficulties, although, you know, I was faced with a lot of different difficulties in my life, they were designed not to devastate me, but to ignite my purpose. So I had to make sure, being a young teenage mother, that I was going to succeed because I had someone else that was dependent on me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think resiliency is something, it's a muscle, right? You have to build it. You have to, you know, it's like be knocked down 7 times, stand up 8. Like that sort of muscle of being able to get back up and keep going, I think is a hallmark of entrepreneurship, and something you ladies have all demonstrated, you know, really well with grace. Now I want to know specifically about your entrepreneurship journey in eye care. So what made eye care the thing for you? Was there a deficiency you saw in the industry that it wasn't catering to Black people? Was race even a consideration in your entrepreneurship journey? Tell me more specifically about what led you to starting a business within the eye care industry.
I'll start, I guess. My journey in the eye care industry has been a little interesting because obviously I'm just a new business owner, but before that I've been branding myself on Instagram as the Optical Goddess, or Goddess of Optics, basically as an independent eyewear influencer or independent eyewear advocate. And I would say the beginning was really a struggle for me because I was pitching ideas to so many brands, and most of the brands being European and international. They were like super, super uninterested in working together. And I knew that it was mostly because of my look. You know, there's not a lot of Black representation in eyewear ads. So like I was really adamant to, you know, giving a space for that. And then, yeah, I went through a lot of rejection from that. Like no matter how passionately I spoke about these brands, they just weren't interested because I didn't fit that kind of normal look of an influencer advocating for them. I would say that there was some brands like during the beginning that did work with me, but I think once I got a larger following, I somehow held more weight. And even though I was talking about the same things, the follower count basically added value. So, you know, that was pretty frustrating because there's even like brands today that are like, oh, I see you're starting a business, you know, we'd love to work together. And I'm just like, you know, I was trying to do all of that way back when. And, you know, so it's kind of, it's been really weird. But yeah, I really pushed for advertising my face with frames because there was such a lack of Black representation in eyewear ads. And so doing the Optical Goddess or working with the Optical Goddess brand has been really good because more people have seen my face in glasses. And I think it really helps to show what glasses fit on other people, because if you just have like just a bunch of European faces, smaller faces, narrow, and these like high top models, it doesn't really help. You know, you have to have different kind of people.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know, and that's one of the double-edged swords about social media, right? It's a gift and a curse. The gift is there's a low barrier to entry, so like everybody can create a platform, but the curse is that for it to be a business, you really have to be about your engagement and how many followers you have. And like brands don't really want to work with you or collaborate until you reach a certain threshold, which is like kind of brings the barrier to entry up again. So yeah, I mean, I can certainly understand like not seeing, you know, yourself represented being an impetus to create it, but I'm glad that the platform has, you know, move past the initial stages to a place where it does carry some weight and where you can have meaningful collaborations with these brands and get your face out there. What about you other ladies? Can you tell me about what kind of led you to know eye care was the industry with which you were going to open your business, or what kind of inspired this decision?
I guess I'll go. Well, as we all know, brand licenses change from time to time. And I guess it would be 6 years ago, I was working for a company, and at that time I had moved out of the field as a sales rep, and I was actually handling all of their marketing and their celebrity product placements for the entire US, and which was going very well. Within 3 months, I learned that I produced more celebrity product placements than some of their larger advertising companies that they had worked with in the past. And I did that just like what Autianna was saying. I purposely focused on adding a lot more placements on African Americans because, as you stated, Autianna, you definitely didn't see that a lot within the optical industry. A lot of people wanted to see more of us within their businesses and their practices and so forth. The issue, I would say, or my journey and what kind of prepared me to move from working for that company and then to coming into the field to start Eyecandy Creations was when there was a situation where the license changed that I was doing the marketing for, and it went to a different licensor. So I wanted to show them, you know, create a brand recap to show this new licensor everything that I had did with the prior brand, all of the celebrity product placements and so forth. So my husband said, create a recap, go ahead and show them everything that you've done. Went to visit them during Vision Expo, and I was devastated by the response that I was given. Basically, they told me, hey, we've seen everything that you've done for the brand, but this is not my feelings. This comes from up above. We just feel that we don't want to see that many African Americans wearing our brand. So obviously, I was devastated. I was disappointed. Been in the industry for so long, working and building these brands, you know, and so forth. And, you know, it propelled me to say, okay, well, I have to go about it another way and change that. So I left their suite, the show that, you know, that year. And by the time the show came around the next year, I launched my own brand. So I walked in with, you know, by that time that year had designed the collection for Cynthia Bailey, rolled it out, and it was in nationwide stores. So I say all that to say that, you know, again, it's been a journey, you know, and I definitely understand what Autianna is talking about, because prior to her coming into the industry, that's what I was doing, you know, a lot of product placements, marketing, building brands.
So if we have time, Dr. Danielle, I'll chime in a little bit because I'm on a different aspect of the industry as an eye care provider. So, you know, I go to school to be an optometrist. I service everyone. But excuse me, we do know optometrists, people of color, specifically Black and Latino optometrists, are heavily underrepresented in our field. So by default, by the time I open my practice, I've had patients. I just had one yesterday who are up in their 50s and 60s, and first time they've ever had a doctor of color who was their optometrist. I had a patient yesterday tell me that this is the first time she ever had this long of a dialogue with her eye doctor to get more detailed explanation as to her eye care and preventative care. So by default, I service everyone, but of course, more patients who look like me tend to come to me because they want to have a doctor that they can see, that looks like them. And sometimes we can have different dialogues and discussions and treatment pathways and plans because we are from the same background. You know, we can talk about different herbal things or old country things that daddy or big mama or grandma may do, and they feel more comfortable because it's someone that looks like them. So by default, but just by how I look, a lot of my patients tend to come to me because I look like them and they're excited. And then I have patients who are not of color that come and say the same thing. They're excited to see someone different. This is the first time they've had an African-American female eye doctor, and they're excited about it. So on the opposite end of the spectrum, as far as in the actual clinic and in the eye care aspect of it, as far as the overall health of the eye, I think representation definitely matters. And it matters for everybody, not just people of color. It's important to see diversity in the various ways that you are being cared for from top to bottom. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Now, I want to kind of dive into a little bit more a question about money, right? Like, so one of the points made in that Forbes article about how many Black women entrepreneurs, how Black women as entrepreneurs are the fastest growing group. It's also a really underfunded group, right? So there's not necessarily a ton of resources available. So I want to talk about financials, just because I know there are other aspiring entrepreneurs on the call, or those maybe looking to start their own business. How are you able to secure funders or investors, or what did you do for funding? Was it self-funded? Did you do a small business loan? And obviously I'm not looking for specific numbers here. What I'm looking for are more, what are the tools and resources you use as a financial kickstart to actually open the business that you've created?
Well, for me, I would say it was definitely a lot of self-funding. Thanks to my husband, Warren McIntosh, for the support as well. It hasn't been easy at all. I know that Terrence and I have had a lot of conversations where I've been very transparent about trying to find funding and so forth. And I think that's what any business, you know, starting out a business, you come into you find it very hard to find investors and or funding. It's literally taken us more than, I would probably say, a year and a half, only to be turned down. And I mean, trust me when I say we tried daily, but to be turned down by one bank after another after another. But you know what, that's one of the reasons why we actually own the license to FUBU, because Damon John and the other founders, they found that our story was very similar to theirs. And if you guys kind of remember their story, Damon John was turned down by 27 banks. He had to do it the untraditional way, self-funding. Their mom, you know, his mom took a loan out on their house, you know, and so forth. So, but it, you know, basically it was okay, because we kind of know how their story went on, and it was that they generated more than $6 billion globally. So I guess we have a lot to look forward to, and we'll be okay with that. But I've learned that basically no was not a denial. It was just only a delay, basically.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
We were able to secure the funding untraditionally, and I'm happy to say it was by finding an investor that looks just like me, an African-American woman that's a self-made millionaire, multimillionaire.
Awesome.
So God is good.
Amen. Amen.
But not easy at all. A lot of sleepless nights, a lot of hard work. We've met with so many different investors that, if I'm being totally transparent and honest, I felt that many times they were looking for reasons to say no. Mm-hmm. They were asking for, can you send me and tell me about the gross profit margins and all of these different things that they may have thought that I might not have been knowledgeable on, but I was able to provide. And they were hoping that that wasn't going to be the case, because they were looking for a reason to say no. And by the time that I gave them every single thing that they asked for, it was kind of like, oh, yeah, let me get back to you. No, there was really no reason not to, and that's what's you know, very unfortunate. I think that a lot of people run into.
And what about you all, Dr. Janelle, Auntie? Do you have anything to add about the financials?
So, go ahead. Oh, well, I went the traditional route. I did receive a practice finance loan through a lender. But I would just say, if you are a current optometrist and you're thinking to start your own practice, just start getting your ducks in line now. Really focus on your personal credit, because when you first start out, you don't have any business credit. So now I have business credit and personal credit, and they both kind of go hand in hand. But just make sure that you're staying up to date on your paying back any loans that you currently have, looking over your credit report to make sure you dispute anything that's on there. Don't be concerned about student loans. I have student loans. I'm able to still eat and pay my practice finance loan. I have one more year left. 2021, I'll be free with my practice finance loan, and I can focus on my student loan. But, you know, if you have to take out loans, you know, a lot of people are so apprehensive about loans, but in reality, I don't come from a rich family, and I don't expect my parents to invest in something like that. My husband and I have position ourselves so we were able to get the funding through a traditional bank, and we just make sacrifices. I don't go shopping all the time. There's certain things that you can easily not do to make sure that you're able to pay back the investment that you were given, and give you opportunities. So just make sure you get your ducks in order. Don't be afraid to take loans. Just be prepared to pay them back. Do what you need to do to be able to get them paid back in a timely fashion.
For me, because my business is mobile and virtually, I don't have, you know, a huge store yet. Everything that I've done has been self-funded. And as a new business owner, it's been interesting to see how I invest. So I only carry five brands right now, but I invest all this money on, you know, getting the inventory, and then I make the money back, and then you have to keep investing, make the money back. So it's like, sometimes I sit and I think to myself, oh my God, like, have I actually made any money, or has it been the same? But you do make money, and then you just have to pour it right back in. So it's a continuous cycle of like giving to yourself, giving back, giving to yourself, giving back. And that's been interesting for me, because I know that being a business owner, it takes a minute to really see that growth, but I know that I am growing. Like, I can see it. It's just, you know, in small steps.
Baby steps.
Absolutely, baby steps. So in addition to being an optometrist, I also am an entrepreneur. I started my own wellness company about 4 years ago, and I wanted to do something outside of the realm of optometry, and because I was tired of optometry, right? Like, I was really, really burned out. But I think one of the things that I have come to love about this industry is that in this profession is that it actually provides a lot of flexibility and a lot of possibilities for earning revenue. So I self-fund Fierce Clarity through being an optometrist. And I think there is a lot of, you know, when a lot of people talk about entrepreneurship, they talk about needing to like quit your day job and be all in on something else. But to Dr. Janelle's point, like, there are loans, there are other things available, but self-funding for a period of time actually gives you a lot of freedom, because you have complete control over what's going on. You have complete control. Obviously, it's limiting, right? Like, it limits your growth because there is enough for limit there. But I do think there is power in self-funding, and especially for anybody who maybe is an optician or an optometrist, or even just in any component of the optical industry, and they're thinking about entrepreneurship, not quite sure how to get there, not really in a space where Tiffany was, where you actually have all the numbers you need to secure funding from investors. I would say don't discount self-funding, because it kind of gives you that opportunity to grow slowly and grow at your own pace, so that when you are ready to take on capital from other sources, you actually have a much stronger business. So just a point to consider there.
And I would just say, don't get it twisted, because it took over 10 years to get the investor. It was prior to then. So
absolutely. And there's a quote that when I think about my own entrepreneurial journey and what like sustains me, there's a quote by Tony Robbins that people overestimate what they can do in 1 year and underestimate what they can do in a decade. And I think when you think about starting a business, you really have to take a long-term view, right? Like Dr. Janelle said, that loan was, she'll be done paying it off. It's been a decade. Like Tiffany said, it took a decade to get funding. Like, these things take time. So I think one of the things things that you have to be mindful of as a person who is considering an entrepreneurial path is that it's not a quick fix. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's a 10-year minimum investment to see a meaningful return. And that's it highlighted in a number of different ways, right? You can take the Malcolm Gladwell, the outliers approach, or you can look to other success stories, right? It takes a decade to make an overnight success. These adages come from somewhere. So one thing, one piece of advice I would kind of encourage you all to take from the panelists today is this refrain of patience, right? And it taking a long time and giving yourself those 10 years to nurture that business like as if it were a child, right? To actually let it grow and let it mature and develop, and then sky really can be the limit. So one of the things we kind of have talked about the roller coaster and the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. So one of the things I really want to touch on is, because it can be so challenging to run your own business, how do you all manage mental wellness and self-care while being an entrepreneur? How do you do it? And obviously, I know there's a lot of, I know that's right. There's a lot of pushback on the concept of balance, which I actually hate, because balance is something we're all seeking to achieve at all times. It's gonna look different. So it's not about looking perfect. It's just about, what do you do to take care of your own mental wellness, your own self-care, and what does that kind of constant evolution of balance look like for you?
Well, I guess I'll jump in. I think it's, like you said, it's constantly changing. It's always the evolutionary process. In the beginning, you're so focused on honing your craft, growing your business, that you can quickly get lost into not having time for yourself or your children or your spouse or your partner, what have you. And over the last decade, once I realized I can't be for everybody. I'm not for everybody. Whether it's patient or vendors, I've set clear boundaries, and then I infuse my family. So my kids, they know mommy's an eye doctor, mommy owns our practice. They help to move things, they help to redesign things. They come in, they're an active part of my practice. They're an active part of my nonprofit. Find something that you like to do, a passion outside of eye care, like Dr. Danielle. At one point, I just got tired of eyes, and everybody always wants you to come do free screenings. They want you to be an eye doctor 24/7, and I have other passions. And once I started being comfortable saying, no, I'm not doing that. Outside of work, I'm done. I have other things that I like to do. I'm a complete person, and it does not all involve eye care. And that's what started my nonprofit. So I really engrossed myself in mentoring, internships, working with youth, particularly women of color, exposing girls 14 and 17 years to STEM careers. And that's brought me a lot of passion and joy. And that's kept me balanced. And I don't feel bad saying that, no, I'm not going to come do this screening, or no, I'm not going to do that. I can give you a resource, because when I close my doors in the evening, I'm done with eye care. I own a business, a practice, I have kids. So you have to be comfortable with what works for you and have no problem with saying no. Okay, say no and be confident in your no. And I think that will help keep you sane. Just be no, say no and be confident in your no.
I want to be like you when I grow up. Totally being transparent. I struggle with this, you guys, daily. My family, my husband, they will tell you, I find it very hard to take the time to shut down. I think that's feel like I can't afford to take off, because I know I feel like who else is going to do it? You know, sometimes you can't find people that's going to be as passionate about the things that needs to be done for your business, because it's your business, right? And so I find myself, as I'm sure everyone else here, I know, wearing 10, 20 hats, within it. So I'm like, okay, well, when can I take off? You know, that won't get done, or this won't get done. Who else is going to do it, and so forth. So I definitely struggle with it. I know that I need to find that balance, because I don't want to become burnt out at all. I love what I do. So, and I know that when you love what you're doing, it's not really necessarily your job, but I do agree that I need to find and be able to say no and shut down, like you said, because yeah, I
Don't talk to me, Tiffany. I got there, but I didn't get there easily. We can talk, girl. We can have our own. It's more infusion. You're never gonna not do with your business. But you say, I'm gonna allot an hour. So when I travel, I just know it's in you. You can't not do it. But what you do is you construct time and say, okay, after 12 p.m., I'm not doing it. So I'm gonna give myself from 8 to 12. So it's a part of you. It's like your eye color. It's there. It's in you. It's innate. It's your baby. And yes, nobody is gonna care about your business like you do. I don't care. Nobody. So you never shut off. You just scale down and you kind of infuse it in your life. As long as you're infusing it, it makes it feel like where your equilibrium is okay. But when you try to shut and do one set thing, then you feel like you're not putting energy to where you should. And that's more mind boggling and more, I think, tear on your psyche. So just infuse it and know it's a part of you and it's never going to go. You'll be at a picnic doing work and say, give me 15 minutes. Let me finish this. And then I can go do volleyball or whatever I need to do. So come talk to me, girl.
So I have a question. This is actually a little bit a personal question for me, this question I want to ask. So a question I want to know, and this is a question I'm very fascinated by with entrepreneurs. How do you know when it's time to bring someone on board to help your business grow? What were some of the things, or what kind of led you to make that decision? When did you know it was time to bring someone on to help grow this business you'd created?
I'm not there, so I can't answer that.
Okay.
I don't have anybody that's help. I say I go by the spirit. And the spirit hasn't led me there. Somebody else asked me that. I believe in a higher power. I don't do anything that's not ordained. So if I'm not given the vision, then it doesn't move. So no, I have not been given that vision yet. And when that vision comes, and I won't have to search for that person, they're gonna walk through the door. So when that time comes, that time will be. It will come. Right now, it's not there for me personally.
I have to agree. I mean, yeah, I feel that the time is there when you feel like, because there is only so many hours in a day, and we are only one person and we can only do so much. But, I just feel like, okay, if it doesn't get on today's to-do list, then it's shifted over to tomorrow's to-do list and so forth. And I continue, shifting those priorities and so forth. But it is very hard, especially when you're an entrepreneur, because you're trying to generate revenue, sustain, that, and be able to incorporate and infuse, help, and good help. And good help is not cheap,
right?
As well. So it is a struggle. I know that for sure, especially being able to phase from doing it yourself, and then bring it on the team.
Yeah, I always have that question. It's so interesting. Because of COVID, I'm an independent contractor by profession, so I'm not an employee. I'm like truly an entrepreneur getting my revenue from like 3 different sources. And it feels insane. I literally cannot manage. I'm like dying. I used to be inbox 0 person. Now my emails are like up to my ears. And I'm like, is it, how do I know when it's time to actually consider offloading some of these priorities to achieve my own personal balance? So I just wanted to ask you guys that question. But I love your message, sort of like, when it's time, and just kind of following that inner guidance, which strong intuition is a hallmark of entrepreneurship, right? Something led you to step out on faith. So continuing to follow that prompt. As we kind of get to the end of our hour here, I want to ask you guys a question. I want each of you all to answer. What is needed to inspire the future of Black women entrepreneurs in our industry? So I know there were a couple questions in the Q&A. We'll get to those in a moment, but sort of for our final part of this formal panel, I just want you guys to maybe share a few words of wisdom, or what your thoughts are on what sort of inspiration is needed for our future Black women entrepreneurs in this industry in particular.
I think Dr. Janelle touched a lot on that with what she's doing with her organization and so forth, with the STEM programs and working with the youth, because I would basically say it's exposure. And educating our young community about the opportunities within this profession. I found out about the profession actually by chance. The high school that I was attending in Miami, William H. Turner Technical Arts High School, I was actually accepted into the architecture program. I wanted to be an architect. And, within the first semester and so forth, I found it to not be something that I guess wanted to pursue further. And the only program that was open was the optician program, and it was open because no one really knew what was that profession all about. But I say that to say that it was a blessing in disguise. But I think if we're able to just generate more exposure, within the communities about just all of the different avenues, because there are so many different avenues and career paths that you can take within this industry. I think that will definitely help. I know Dr. Darrell Glover and Dr. Ramsey is working on an initiative as well to help combat this issue. So kudos to them as well, and to Dr. Janelle. And I think the entire community, we're kind of moving that issue forward, bringing it to the forefront to figure out how we can see more of us in this industry.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think definitely more exposure of us, like sharing these stories and being transparent and open, will really help, because I realize there's a lot of, just from Instagram, I get a lot of messages and inquiries from younger Black opticians who are like, wow, like it seems like, there's so much that you can do in optical. So some people just don't know. So kind of just exposing that and exposing more people of color and what they do in this industry just may inspire others. And also I feel like maybe some more like mentorship kind of programs for people might help too, just again, because there's so many people that think that it's just opticianry and it's just being an optometrist, when there's really like so many things that you can do, and it's really sky's the limit, honestly.
So yeah, I agree with both Autianna and Tiffany, but I would go a little deeper. That's what the platform of my nonprofit. You need exposure, but you need empowerment and encouragement. A lot of us get exposed to different things, but we're not empowered and encouraged. And I feel like the only way you can empower and encourage, you actually physically need to take somebody under your wings. You need to be a mentor, and not just a random mentor. You need a Black female mentor who is walking in that path. So we all need to take an initiative and go pull back and pull forward. So I mentor students and at a high school level, and then you need entrepreneurship and internship. So they need to be exposed, empowered, and encouraged by walking in those footsteps, seeing you, coming in and spending time with you. I have a protege, as I call her, who I've known since she was 17. She used to want to be an oncologist. She came in as an intern, and by the time she finished that semester, she wanted to be an optometrist. Even though she wore glasses and contacts, she never had a Black female as an eye doctor. And just working with me empowered her and encouraged her. So now she's a junior in college. She's preparing to apply for optometry school. So she has that visual of empowerment, encouragement, and stem from exposure. So we just need to take it a step further. We need to encourage, we need to empower, and we need to be right there for them, guiding them through the steps, and just let them not experience some of the things that you had to experience. I'll tell people in a minute, don't go this route. That's a dead end. I already did it. So let me give you some other advice so you don't have to have some of the hardships that I have had. But mentorship, entrepreneurship exposure, and internship is important.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I mean, if I had to give a piece of advice to those like considering passive entrepreneurship, it would be to just start. There's not a manual. Even in my own professional career, some might look at it and be like, wow, you're so successful, or you've done this, or you've done that, but it's not there's no path, right? There's no guidebook, there's nothing, there's no instruction manual that's going to tell you what to do. It's like the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, right? You have to put one foot in front of the other, and you have to just begin, and you have to start laying the foundation brick by brick. So if maybe you want to design a frame line, if maybe you want to open your own office, maybe you want to go to optometry school, or maybe you want to start an online boutique, there are a number of different things you can do in this profession, but you have to start, right? So give yourself grace to be a beginner, but also allow yourself room to pivot. Just because you have a brilliant idea, the market might tell you your idea sucks and you just got to pivot. That's okay too. Okay. Like it's okay to sort of pivot. It's okay to be a beginner. It's okay to be a novice and to be new at things. So if I could offer just a few words of encouragement, use these panelists as resources. I'll let them go ahead and introduce their social media or their platforms where you can connect with them, but also don't be intimidated, right, by your own journey. And again, it's not overnight success. Being an entrepreneur is not a microwave path to happiness, but it can be more fulfilling in the long run if that is what you feel called to do. So ladies, thank you so much for all of your wise words on this panel. If you could kind of let everyone know where to connect with you. I'll see if there's any questions in the chat while you guys are giving those final remarks and connection points.
Go ahead, guys. I'll go last.
Okay, so again, it's Tiffany Mcintosh, Eyecandy Creations. My Instagram is Eyecandy Creations LLC, but we also have our other brands. So those Instagrams are at FUBU Frames, at Cynthia Bailey Eyewear. But if you check out eyecandycreations.us, you'll have access to all of the brands that we develop. And oh yeah, and FUBU launched today.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Tiff.
Thank you for whoever joined.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
So yes, again, I'm Autianna. You guys can reach me on Instagram at Goddess of Optics, and that's going to be OPTIX. If you have any inquiries regarding really just anything like Instagram branding or kind of like what I'm doing, I would say email would be the easiest because I get so many DMs throughout the day, and so it's hard to go through that. So my email is eyewearloveaffair@gmail.com. And then my business Instagram is eyewear.loveaffair. Yep, eyewear.loveaffair.
Someone said if you guys can type your contact information in the group chat, that way people can copy it. That'd be great.
Yeah.
And then as far as myself, I'm pretty much on all social media platforms as Dr. Janelle OD, or you can go to my website, drjanelleod.com, and you can connect to my platforms there. You can also find out information about my nonprofit there as well, and other things that I'm involved with. Need eye exams, you can do all that straight from that website. They'll give you the clearest pathway.
Hey, Danielle, we actually had someone who wanted to ask a live question.
Yeah, I was going to circle back. I saw a question about Vision Expo.
Yeah, Stacey says she's willing to come on camera to ask a live question. So we're going to unmute her. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, could we unmute Stacey? She had a question she wanted to ask.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to ask a quick question. So I'd like to know, with regard to Vision Expo, what is the opportunity for entrepreneurs to get access to folks who are there to either pitch an idea, to meet with folks, do a meet and greet, or to just introduce yourself as a budding entrepreneur? Is there a low barrier to entry? Is there something you recommend one would do? Thank you.
For me, I think Vision Expo has been like the best regarding networking with people that I'm really inspired by or people that I want to pitch ideas to. It's really, I know that Vision Expo started that, what was it? The mentor.
The speed dating.
Yeah, the speed dating where you could talk to people and kind of get inspired on how to start a business. But in general, when I'm at Vision Expo, I'm really going to network. And that's my intention, to just talk to everyone about anything optical related and just to get inspired in that way. So I feel like Vision Expo is really how you make it. There's going to be lots of access to people, to talk to people. And then there's obviously the events that give you like, an easy route on who to talk to. But yeah, I think it's really good to go there. And then when it gets really quiet.
Well, thank you. Thanks for your question, Stacey, and thanks for sharing, Ati. I was waiting. I thought Terrence was going to jump in.
I talk so much about Vision Expo. I was like, I would love to hear, especially Audrey, Janelle, and Tiffany talk about it, because they hear from me about Vision Expo, 24/7, 365.
Right, we're Team Vision Expo for sure. We support.
Yeah.
We're Team Vision Expo.
Absolutely. I think at Vision Expo, you have the opportunity to actually get a point of contacts for some brands. And a lot of times, like if you're interacting with somebody online, potentially that's run by a social media manager or not even anybody affiliated with the brand. It could be completely outsourced to a third party. So I think trade shows like Vision Expo give you the opportunity to actually go connect with someone from the brand, to get their business card and to be able to send them an email to set up a formal meeting. Additionally, sometimes you can reach out ahead of the show and connect to set up meetings at the show itself. So while COVID is ravaging the country, obviously this is all going to look a little bit different here in 2020. But I think if you are considering entrepreneurship in the optical industry in particular, Vision Expo is a great place to go because it brings fashion, it brings medical technology, and it brings education all under one roof. So no matter what you're interested in, chances are there's going to be a representative or someone there that you can connect with, you can actually get a business card from, that you can schedule a meeting with for your pitch or to discuss collaborations or anything like that. So it's what you make it, right? There's no one holding your hand during these types of things. So there's not a setup for you to just like pop in and see. You got to do a lot of legwork. You got to do a lot of research. You got to do a lot of meeting and greeting and networking. But that shows like Vision Expo really provide a great platform for you to accomplish those things.
Yeah, and I would also say that hopefully the speed dating is like a continuous thing, because I know when I did that like, I just remember all of the conversations that I had with each of those business owners, and I really take, excuse me, all of that information that they told me to what I'm doing now. So it was really, really beneficial.
I can just butt in here. I'm sorry. I'm not. I would not talk about Vision Expo, but I have to. So what Autianna was talking about, the speed dating, is a program we set up where new and up and coming people in the industry can meet with more experienced, successful people in the industry. We call it speed dating because we rotate it to a different person every 5 minutes for a complete hour. So by the time you were done, in a complete hour, you met with about 10 to 12 experienced people. You were able to really glean points from them. So yes, Autianna, we will be doing this again, and we have actually done it virtually throughout the year since COVID hit. So look out for more speed dating opportunities. I'm sure we'll get a chance that we can have opportunity to have some of the people on this panel as part of speed dating in the future. It will be great. So.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Everyone's contact information is in the chat. If you have any specific questions, be sure to follow up with the panelists because they were amazing. I want to thank you all for taking the time out of your Wednesday to connect. And as always, another wonderful coffee talk. Cheers to that.
And if you all could fill out, there's an actual poll that's popped up on your screen. Please go ahead and fill that out. It really helps us to be able to structure more coffee talk series and topics. But please go ahead and fill that out before you leave. And I want to thank Danielle. There's a lot of strength today on this panel, and thank you so much for conducting it. Dr. Janelle, it was great to finally meet you, even though we're on the screen, e-meet. We've been following and admiring each other from afar for so long. And Autianna and Tiffany, we've known each other for a very long time. It's really nice to see the progress and the road that you both are setting in this industry. I always said that Black women are the crowns of our ethnicity. And I think this panel right here just proves that. So thank you all for what you do. I look up to all four of you, and I look forward to gleaning more from your journey. And thank you all for coming. Thank you, Lenore. Thank you, Stacey, for being here. Tony, Julia, Jennifer, Michelle, Brianna, Amaka, and everybody else. I didn't call your name, not because I don't love you. It's because there's 60 of you there.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, guys. Have fun joining us.
Bye.
Bye, you guys.
You ladies killed it.
Huh?
You ladies killed it.
Oh, thank you.
That was good. Yeah, I don't know, Danielle. I think we need our own Netflix special. just for the
right. I never quite got around to watching it.
It's so
pretty good. Yeah.
It's so good. Yeah, you gotta watch it. It's so good. It's
talking about self-care and wellness and all of that, like right now in particular, I personally am like, I just want to check out, and it's been really, really difficult trying to manage everything. So it's been really nice to hear you all. You know, it's just, it's good and it's encouraging, because the reality is, like, the pandemic, this, that, like, I'm done. I just want to go sit on a beach somewhere and like kick my feet up. And I keep trying to go. I get away for a weekend, but the world keeps pulling me back. So I want to find some time to, you know, read, to watch Netflix, to connect. But I want to thank you all for sharing so candidly, and for really providing some inspiration that is needed today.
I think more stuff like this helps. Women, we need this, especially Black women. We all are just doing our thing, and it's good to see other people, because you see the out. You don't realize the struggles that people are going through. So I think at every point, I've been where you were, Danielle, and then adding 2 babies, infants, and it's just like, you just want to say, I quit. And I think once you say I quit, then that's when you really catapult, because then you really tune into what makes you happy, and everything you're doing is not necessarily making you happy. And then that way you can focus on just those things, and then you'll be surprised at how well you're doing with less. So you'll get there.
And I think that's why it's so important that, you know, like-minded people have events like this to be able to share their, you know, their best practices and their tips together, because sometimes you feel like we're going through it, you may feel like you're alone going through it. And we can actually talk to someone in your shoes, in the industry, that can relate. Because now you talk to a friend of yours, and my friends are like, what do you mean you're tired? All you do is go have fun on the road all the time. You go from here to here to here to here to here. You know, you're on vacation all the time. I'm like, yeah, it ain't vacation. And I'm like, you know,
I think you're super rich. You know, like,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I called Tiffany up, and Tiffany like, yep, I know. You know, it's like, yep. you know.
Same city a lot of the times. I'm like, Terrence, what city you in? And most
all the time.
Same city, because we would
listen. We've been in LA, Atlanta, New York, Paris, Milan. We've been all over the place together, and not planned. Just happened to be like, we'd happen to be in the same city. No. You know, so you know, it's good. It's good. Well, ladies, thank you all. This was really nice. I really appreciate you taking your time out to do this.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. This was great.
And I'll send you the YouTube recording as soon as it's available.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Have a probably available to share already too.
Oh, great. And I'll tell Yolanda that she should have stuck with us instead of Oprah. She was so bad, because she said when Oprah books her, she didn't tell her what time she's coming. She just says, I need you this day. And you clear your day.
That's typically how it works.
Yeah, he knows. Yeah. So, definitely. All right, ladies, we'll see you.
All right. Again. Take care, guys. Bye.
All right. Bye now.